Okay. Okay. Today class is basics of CPP. See here on basics, the IOStream dot IOStream file. We have sent the following include directives in the program. Hash include IOStream dot h. You can use stream. The hash include directive instructs the compiler to include the contents of the file enclosed within angular brackets into the source file. The header file, the header file, okay, and iostream.h should be included at the beginning of all programs that use input or output statements. Okay, next namespace. Namespace is a new concept introduced by ANSI C++ standard company. This defines a scope for the identifiers that are used in programs. For using the identifiers defined in the namespace scope, we must include the using directives like using namespace, std. Here std is the namespace where ANSI C++ standards class libraries are defined. All ANSI C++ program must include their directives. This will bring all the identifiers to define in std to the current global scope using namespace. Next, return type of main. On the return type of main, in C++, main returns an integer value to the operating system. Therefore, every main function in C++ should end with return 0 statement. Okay. Otherwise, a warning and error might occur. Okay, since main function returns an integer type of our main is explicitly specified as int. Note that the default return type for all functions in C++ is int. The following main without type and return will run with a warning. Okay, here no return type, then this program gives the what error, one error it gives. Okay, next more statements in C++. See here, let us consider a slightly more complex C++ program. Assume that we should like to read two numbers from the keyboard and display their averages on the screen. Okay, on that average of two numbers, you can see here program. Okay, first program, what is that one? Hash include iostream.h. Okay, here that is called a header file. That is called what one? Header file. Okay. Next, then after int main function opening braces. This is the declaration part. In declaration part, variable declaration part, you can declare the variables here. Okay. Next, scene is the function number one, number two. Okay, those two are reading from keyboard. Sum is equal to sum plus number one plus number two. Okay, here sum is added here. Then after total, you can average that two numbers are the sum of total by number of what are the elements. Those elements you can give here. See out sum is equal to sum. Count average is equal to average. Return 0. End of example. Okay. Output you can see enter two numbers. Okay. Those are floating point numbers. Then you only floating point numbers you can enter. Okay. 6.5 and 7.5 both are floating point numbers. Okay. Then after sum, what is the sum? Both you can add 14 and then you can do average by 7. Okay, here you can see each and every language start with a header file. Then after main function, here you can write down the int. Then you can't use a return type. Here when you can use int, here return type you can write down. Okay. Next, on that you can see each and every statement end with semicolons. Okay, there is no semicolon, compiler cannot identify. When the semicolon is there, then that line is over. The compiler can identify. Okay. Next variable. What is the meaning of variable on the above program? On the above program, Okay, on the variable program, there are two variables are there, four variables are there. Number one, number two, sum and average. These are the four variables. Okay, they are declared as type float by the statement. Okay, float number one comma number two comma sum comma average. All the variables must be declared before they are used in the program. They are used in the program. Those all programs are must be declared. Okay, next input operator. The statement C in number one is an input statement and causes the program to wait for the user to type in a number. When you can give the input to, okay, then that input statement and causes the program to wait for the user to type an input. Okay, the number keyed is in placed in the variable number one. The identifier Cin, pronounced Cin, is a predefined object in C++ that corresponds to the standard input stream. Here, the stream represents the keyboard. Here, the stream represents the keyboard. Okay, then after the operator greater than is known as extraction or get from operator or get from operator. It it extracts or takes the value from the keyboard and assign it to the variable on it right side figure. Okay, right on its right. Okay, figure is there. This responds to familiar scanf operations. Like what are the functions are there? Those functions all are overloaded here, and input and output those are taken here on. Okay, next here you can say any object is there, that object okay, execution operator and variable and keyboard. When you can give the input by using keyboard only, their keyboard gives the input value. Then after that, by using that input value, what is the floating point value there? That variable you can give here. Input value is floating point data type. Variable is floating point data type. Then you can give the floating point value here. Okay, suppose integer value is there, then you can give the integer. Okay. Here extraction and inclusion operators, by using those operators you got the input and outputs here. Okay. Next here cascading I by O operators. Okay, we have used the insertion operator less than repeatedly in the last two statement for printing results. Okay, in the above program last two statements they can use. Okay, which operator? Insertion operator repeatedly. See out sum is equal to less than sum. Okay, here backslash n means new line. Okay, that command shows the new line. Okay, next here you can see first send the string sum is equal to the to output to see out. Okay, to see out, and then send the value of sum. Okay, finally it sends the new line character to the next output will be in the new line. Okay, the multiple use of less than in one statement called cascade. Okay, in one statement we can use more than one insertion operation, that is called cascading. Okay, here in the above statement we are using three insertion operators, then that is called cascading statement. When cascading an output operator, we should ensure necessary blank space between different items. Okay, different items are there, they're not necessary. Okay, you can mention their necessary, you can't mention their necessary white space. Okay, next here you can see using the cascading technique, the last two statements can be combined as follows. Okay, you can see here, you can this type also you can write down. Okay, but in our what is that one program, we are using cout statements two times, but here we can write down only one time. Between those two statements, you can give simple blank space. Okay, then automatically it will take. Okay, cout sum is equal to sum. Next, here also this is string, and these two are the variables. Sum and average are the variables are there. Okay, this is one statement, but provide two lines of output. This statement provides two lines of output. If you want only one line of output, the statement will be like this. Okay, sum is equal to this is string. Your sum is printed. Then after you can give the comma. Then after you can give what average. Okay, then after you can give the average variable. Okay, that is all. Okay, the output like this. Okay, the output will be sum is equal to 14 and average is equal to 7. Okay, we can also cascade input operators as below. C in greater than number 1 greater than number 2. Okay, the values are assigned from left to right. The values are assigned from left to right. The values are assigned from left to right. That is, if we key in two values, say 10 and 20, then 10 will be assigned to the number 1 and 20 will be assigned to number 2. Okay, here an example with class. One of the major features of C++ is classes. Okay, they provides a method binding together data and functions. A class nothing but what bound of data and functions. Okay, which operates on them like structures in C. Okay, classes are user-defined data types. Use of class. Okay, user-defined data types. Okay, here you can use the class. Okay, here you can mention first what is the header file. Is there that header file you can give the top of the program. Then after you can use the namespace keyword. Then after you can use class and class name. Okay, in class name you bound what are those members function. Okay, data and functions. Here you can see. Okay, data. What is the data? Is there character data type? Data is their name, and the integer is age is the integer data type. Okay, and these two are the functions. Okay, get data and display data. Get data and display data. These two are the functions. Okay, class nothing but what bind together data and functions. Okay, combination of data and functions or bind together data and function is called a class. Okay, on that void get data you can see here. Okay, by using insertion operator or extraction operator. Okay, here see in name next enter the age is also entered here. Name and enters in the string is printed. Then after you can mention the name by using this keyword name. You can use what okay. You can use by using keyboard. You can enter the name of that particular person. Next enter age. He is also you can enter by using keyboard. Okay, next and then after what is the get information is there that getted information displayed here. What is the getted information is there that getted information displayed here. Okay, next you can see here. Okay, int main function. On that main function, okay, person is what a class name that is assigned with an object p object. Okay, and get data and display data, these two are the okay member function of this class. These two are the member function of person class. Okay, get data and display data, these two are the okay functions of this person, and p is the object assigned to that class name. P dot get data and p dot display next return 0. Here end of example. Okay, the output what enter the name Ravinder. Next is 30. Next, that is the getting data. Getting data by using keyboard. After getting data, it will display name and age. It will display name and age. Okay. Next, the program define persons as a new data of type class. The class person include two basic data types items and two functions to operate on the data. Okay, the functions are called member function. What are the functions inside class? Those functions are called member functions. Okay, outside of the classes, outside of the class, what are the functions you can mention there? Those functions are not called class. They are class member functions. Okay, what are the functions declared inside the class? Those are called member functions. Okay, the main program uses person to declare variables of its types. As pointed out earlier, okay, class variables are known as objects. Here P is object of the type person and class objects used to invoke the function defined in that class. Okay, next structure, basic structure. Okay, basic structure of C++. Here you can see a typical C++ program would contain four sections. This section may be placed in separate code files and then compiled. Okay, indefinitely or jointly. Okay, what are the files inside that code? Those are all complete, compiled indefinitely or jointly. Okay, it is a common practice to organize a program into these separate files. These separate files. The class declarations are placed in a header file and the definitions of member function go into another file. This approach enables the programmer to separate the abstract specification of the Interface from the implementation details. Implementation details nothing but here member function definition. Member function definition. Finally, the main program that uses the class is places in the third file, which includes the previous two files, as well as any other file required. Okay. On that, those four main parts are include files, class declaration, member function definition, main function program. Include files, class declaration, member function definition, and main function program. Okay, here you can see. Okay, this approach is based on the concept of client server model as shown in figure. The class definition, including the member function, constitute the server that provides services to the main program known as client. Okay, the client uses the server through the public interface of classes. Here you can see member function and class definition. Class definition nothing but what class is nothing but object. It bounds object and functions. Okay, inside what are the functions are there inside class? Those are called the class member functions. Okay, next main function is there that is called client. And these member functions and class definition those are server. Okay, what are the main function inside a program code is there? That code accessed by using server only. There is no server, client cannot work. Okay, the server is there by based on that server only, client server. Okay, creating the source file. How we can create a source file in C++? Listen here, like C programs can be created using any text editor. Like C programs can be created using any text editor. Okay, for example, on the Unix we can use okay sixth editor. Okay, edit okay six or add text editor for creating using any text editor for creating and editing the source code. On the DOS disk operating system, we can use Endline or any other editor available or a word processor system under non-document mode. Okay, some systems such as Turbo C++ provides an integrated environment for developing and editing programs. Okay, the file name should have proper file extension to indicate that it is a C++ implementation. Use extensions such as .c, .c, .cc, .cc, .cpp, and .cxx. At Turbo C++ and Borland C++ use .c for C program and .cpp for C++ programs. Okay, Jortex C++ system uses .cxx, while Unix AT and T version uses .c, capital C. Okay, and .cc, the operating system manually should be consulted to determine the proper file name extension to give. Okay, here you can see okay what is the file is there that file is you can type what is the code is there that code you can type in editor. Okay, any editor you can take but Borland C++ and Turbo C++ their integrated editor is there. On that editor only you can enter the code. Then after when a code is entered over code is over, then after you can compile that program. When you can enter the code, that code is saved by using the file name dot extension. What is the extension is dot C. You can give the extension there. Or for C programming and C++ programming, machine should you can give dot C++. Okay. Next, compiling and linking. The process of compiling and linking again depends upon the operating system. A few popular systems are discussed in this section. Unix AT and T C++, you can see here. This process of implementation of a C++ program under Unix is similar to that of C program. Okay, what is the C program is there? That C program, same as it is, you can write down. Okay, next, here we should use the CC uppercase letters command to compile the program. Remember, we use lowercase for compiling C program. The commands capital CC example.c. Okay, but the Unix prompt would complete the C++ program source code contained in the file example.c. The compiler would produce an object file example.o. Okay, and then automatically link with the library function to produce an executable file. The default executable file is a dot out. A dot out. Okay. A program spread over multiple files can be compiled as below. Okay, cc file1.c, file2.o. The statement compiles only the file1.c and links it with the previously compiled file2.o file. Okay, this is useful when only one of the file needs to be modified. The files that are not modified need not to be compiled again. In Turbo C++ in Bolan C++, Turbo C++ in Bolan C++ provide an integrated program development environment under MS-DOS. Okay, they provide a built-in editor and a menu bar includes options such as file editor, compiler, and run. We can create and save source file under the file option and edit them under the edit option. We can then compile the program under the compile option and execute it under the run option. The option run option runs and multiplying the source code and compiling source code. Okay, here you can see what are the compilations, what are the actions are there. Those all are under what is that one? Here you can uh, okay, this is the code. This is the code is there. Okay, this is the code. Okay, this code we can save on that programming editor. On that editor, we can save by using the file name.c. Okay, this code you can type in Turbo C++ or Poland C++. You can enter on that entered code. Save with the file name.c cpp extension. Okay, then after you can compile. Okay, in execution process, what is the information is there? That information is executed. When code is over, then after you can execute that. Okay, you can run that program. Okay, on that run program, any errors are there, those errors are rectified by user, and then after you can execute that program. Okay, there is no errors, you can execute. There errors you can't execute. Okay, what is the source code is there? That source code is converted into object code. That source code convert into object code. Okay, when the source code is converted into object code, okay, then automatically what is the information is there, that information converted into object. Okay, when the object code is over, okay, that object code is loaded and the loader can load that object and then after that is executed and it gives the output. Okay, in Turbo C++ or Borland C++, okay, here integrated program development environment is there. On that environment only you can enter what is the information is that information you can enter on that. Okay, when you can enter the file, enter the code, then you can go to the file and there options are there. Okay, many options are there. Those options on that menu bar file is there. By using that file, you can open that on that file opening, creation a file, open a file, edit a file, compile and run. Different options are there. Those options you can use and you can execute your program. Okay, next here you can see in compiling and linking. The process of compiling and linking again depends upon the operating system. Okay, we are using different types of operating systems are there. Depending on that operating system, okay, which editor you can want, that editor you can take. Okay, a few popular systems are discussed in this section. Those are Unix at AT&T, C++. AT&T is that is Bell Laboratory, that is at USA. With this process of implementation of C++ program under Unix is similar to that of a C program. We should use the uppercase command to compile the program. Okay, remember we use lowercase for compiling C programs. Okay, the command cc for example.c at the Unix prompt would compile the C++ program source code contained in the file example.c. Okay, the compiler would produce an object file example.o and then automatically link with the library function to produce an executable file. The default executable file is dot out. A dot out. Okay. Here you can see member function and class definition are there. And main function also is there. Okay, those all functions are main function, member function, and class definition. Class definition nothing but what here, that is a combination of class. That is a combination of combined or bounding of a member function, functions with the data with the functions. Okay, there is no data, we can't use that. Like, next, class definition nothing but what is the class? Class nothing but it bounds data and member function. Okay, when class is over, must and should you can use a curly braces at the end of that class. You can mention their semicolon. Okay. Next, this approach is based on the concept of client server model. Client server model, as shown in figure, the class definition include the member function continues the server that provides services to the main program known as client. The client uses the server through the public interface of the class. Okay, here you can see this is basic structure. On that basic structure, mainly four sections are there. On those sections include file section, class declaration section, member function, definition, and main function. In include file section, we can give the header file iostream.h, input output stream.h header file. Okay. And class declaration section, you can declare the class by using class keyword, class space, class name. Class space, class name you can give there in declaration section. Okay, then after member function definition, okay, member function and data, those two are you can mention inside class, those are called the class members. Okay. Suppose you can mention the function outside of the class, then those are not a member function. What are the functions you can declare inside the class? Those are called a member functions. Okay. Next, you can see here. Okay, what are the topics I will explain today? First one is IOStream header files. IOStream header files nothing but here hash includes iostream.h header file. That is a directive. When the compiler can compile our program, then it will take okay. Those contents, what are the contents are there? Those contents are enclosed with Angular brackets into the source code file. Okay, namespace nothing but here namespace is a new concept introduced by ANSI C++ standards committee. This defines a scope for the identifiers that are used in programs. For using the identifiers defined in the namespace scope, we must include the using directive like using namespace stand. Next, return type. Here you can see again C++ main returns an integer value to the operating system. Therefore, every main function in C++ should end with a return 0 statement. Otherwise, a warning an error might occur since main returns an integer type. For main is explicitly specified as integer. Note that the default return type of all the functions C++ is int. The following is main without a type and return will run with a var. Okay, here you can mention must and should you can mention what okay return type you can mention, then you want to display the error. Okay, so some of the more statements are there. Those statements you can see here main function and float. Float nothing but data type C in and C out. These more statements we are using. C in for input. Okay, C in means C++ input statement and C out nothing but C++ output statements we can print by using these two words, and floating point nothing but that is a data type. Okay, next variables here on the above program we are using different types of variables are there. Okay, those variables you can see variables number one, number two, sum and average, four variables we are using. These four variables declared as floating point data type. On the floating point data type number one comma number two comma sum comma average an input operator statement you can see. This is called what input statement and causes the program to wait for use to type in a number. The number key is placed in the variable number one. The identifier seen pronouns seen as a defined object in C++. Okay, like that output also you can see here, and this is the process of execution taking input values by using keyboard. And here cascading input or output operator nothing but more than one statement we can write down in a single statement. That is the cascading. Okay, there we can use more than one extension operator or more than one insertion operator. We can use there. Then that is called a cascading input output operator. And here examples with class. You can see here when class is over, must and should you can end with semicolon. Then only class is over. Okay, what are the functions and what are the data inside the class? Those are called member functions. Those are called member functions. Okay, and here structure on the structure four parts are there. Include files. Next class declaration, member function definition, main function program. These are the four classes are there. And creating the source file, how we can create a source file by using editor, but in turbo c++ and Poland c++ integrated environment for developing and editing programs on those two. Okay, and if you're compiling and linking okay, when we can save a program by using dot extension dot c, okay, then only our c++, then only our program is executed there. Okay, to